Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. Thank you all for tuning in. I'm your host, Jason Beck of High at Night News, and this is a special analysis broadcast of the events that recently happened in Barton, Pennsylvania on Saturday afternoon, where former President Donald Trump's life was attempted to be assassinated by a lone gunman, at least currently now or whatnot, or we're going to go into all of that. There was an individual who did lose their life, Corey Competidor of Pennsylvania. He was a former fire chief in the area who used his body to shield his family. So this guy was a true hero, really looking out for his family. We definitely want to make sure that we dedicate this video in his memory, as well as there was also a GoFundMe for their family that went up, and I believe there was over $1 million raised for the family, so that's really good to know. There were two other people injured, a David Dutch, 57, of New Kensington, Pennsylvania, and James Kopenhauer, 74, of Moon Township, Pennsylvania. Both were listed in stable condition as of Sunday. So the first piece of video footage that I found on the internet immediately following the assassination attempt was a video put out by the BBC where they're interviewing a gentleman who said that he saw the sniper on the rooftop and notified law enforcement. We're going to watch that video right now and see what you guys have to think about this. But this was really fast right after the whole thing.
Someone who was here. You weren't inside the event, nope, but you were just outside. Tell us what you saw.
So we had a party here all day. You can see behind us at the Brinkles Farming Greenhouse here. We had a party, and we all decided, hey, you know, when we hear Trump up there, we're going to walk up through the field, stand by the trees out there under the shade, and watch and listen to the rally. Right? We couldn't see him, but we could hear him. So we walked up, and probably 5 to 7 minutes of Trump speaking. I'm estimating here. I have no idea, you know, but we noticed a guy crawling, bear crawling up the roof of the building beside us, 50 feet away from us. So we're standing there, you know, we're pointing at the guy crawling up the roof.
And he had a gun, right?
He had a rifle. We could clearly see him with a rifle, absolutely. We're pointing at him. The police are down there running around on the ground. We're like, hey man, there's a guy on the roof with a rifle. And the police were like, huh, what? You know, like they didn't know what was going on. You know, we're like, hey, right here on the roof, we can see him from right here. We see him. You know, he's crawling. And
I'm confused at this point because I'm confused by his response that he's saying that law enforcement is giving him, but we'll continue on.
And next thing you know, I'm thinking to myself, why is Trump still speaking? Why have they not pulled him off the stage? I'm standing there pointing at him for, 2 or 3 minutes. Secret Service is looking at us from the top of the barn. I'm pointing at that roof, just standing there like this. And next thing you know, 5 shots ring out.
So you're certain that the shots came from that guy on the roof?
100%.
And he was up there for a couple of minutes.
He was up there.
You saw him up there for a couple of minutes.
Absolutely. At least 3 to 4 minutes.
And you were telling the police in the Secret Service?
We were telling the police. We were pointing at them for the Secret Service, who were looking at us from the top of the...
So notice he said 3 to 4 minutes right there. I think that's an important timeline to make sure that we're remembering as we continue along on this journey.
Barn, they were looking at us the whole time when we were standing by that tree.
Could they see
binoculars?
Could they see him?
Probably not, because the roof, the way the slope went, he was behind where they could see. But why is there not Secret Service on all of these roofs here? I mean, this is not a big place.
He brings up a very good point, and something that I totally happen to agree with.
Did you see, I mean, obviously everyone, when the shooting started, everyone was very panicked. Did you see what happened to him at all?
Oh yeah, they blew his head off.
Okay, sorry.
Secret Service blew his head off.
Okay, just be careful because we don't quite know who's watching, but you're pretty sure they shot the guy?
Absolutely, 100%.
Okay.
Yep.
You saw that happen?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And did you see them go up to him afterwards, or?
They crawled up on the roof. They had their guns pointed at him, make sure he was dead. He was dead, and that was it. It was over.
It's incredibly shocking.
The guy was on the roof right there. You can see the white roof right there.
Did you get a look at him? Could you?
No, other than he was in muted colors, tan type clothing. We saw the rifle flinging around as he was trying to crawl. I mean, we saw the rifle, 100%.
Do you know about guns? Do you know what kind of weapon it was?
Oh, I absolutely know about guns, for sure. No, I mean, it was a rifle of some sort. I wouldn't know, I wasn't close enough to read the label on it, but it was a rifle of some sort. Yeah, absolutely.
So how do you process what you've just seen?
I don't know what to say, man. All I'll tell you is, if I walked up close to there with anything that Secret Service considered a problem, I wouldn't be standing here talking to you right now. But I don't know why a guy who we're standing there pointing out to police and Secret Service is crawling up the roof.
Were you outside the security perimeter?
Yes, right there by that tree. We were outside the security perimeter. But my question is, there's only a few buildings around here. Why is Secret Service not at every building here?
Well, there's a whole bunch of questions I think that are going to come.
There's a whole bunch of questions.
Yeah.
Trump flag on the horse?
Yes, she was right in front of me. She kept going back and forth right in front of me. Yes.
Tell us about that.
I mean, nice horse, nice lady running with a flag. Seemed very, patriotic.
But what's the significance of that?
No, he asked me if I saw a horse.
Okay. All right, well, listen, I'm sorry you had to witness that. That was a terrible thing. And you should stay safe with your family and
Gotcha.
look after yourself. Thanks for your time.
Man.
Very, very, very interesting, his accounts of this. Then following that, I found this article from the Associated Press, which was the first piece of news coverage that I saw that identified the shooter as well as gave some history about him. And I believe there's a couple things in this article that actually contradict what the gentleman in the previous video said, but let's move right along. In the article, this reads, the 20-year-old man who tried to assassinate former President Donald Trump first came to law enforcement's attention on Saturday. At Saturday's rally, when spectators noticed him acting strangely outside of the campaign event. The tip sparked a frantic search, but officers were unable to find him before he managed to get on a roof, where he opened fire. In the wake of the shooting that killed one spectator, investigators were hunting for any clues about what may have drove Thomas Matthew Crooks of Bethel Park, Pennsylvania, to carry out the shocking attack. The FBI said they were investigating it as a potential act of domestic terrorism, but the absence of a clear ideological motive by the man shot dead by the Secret Service led conspiracy theories to flourish. In a quote, I urge everyone, please don't make assumptions about his motives or his affiliations, President Joe Biden said in remarks on Sunday from the White House. Let the FBI do their job and their partner agencies do their job. I've instructed that this investigation be thorough and swift. The FBI said it believes Crooks, who had bomb-making materials in the car he drove to the rally, acted alone. Investigators have found no threatening comments on social media accounts or ideological positions that could help explain what led him to target Trump before the Secret Service rushed the presumptive Republican presidential nominee off the stage. His face smeared with blood, and Trump said on social media the upper part of his right ear was pierced in the shooting. But advisors said he was, in quotes, great spirits ahead of his arrival on Sunday in Milwaukee for the Republican National Convention. 2 spectators were critically injured, while a former fire chief from the area, Corey Comparator, was tragically killed. Pennsylvania's governor said Comparatori 50 died a hero by diving onto his family to protect them, which we reported on in the beginning of this video. And relatives of Crooks did not respond to numerous messages from the Associated Press. His father, Matthew Crooks, told CNN late on Saturday that he was trying to figure out, in quotes, what the hell is going on, but wouldn't speak about his son until after he talked to law enforcement. An FBI official told reporters that Crooks' family is cooperating with investigators, apparently. And several rallygoers reported to local officers that Crooks was acting suspiciously and pacing near the magnetometers, according to a law enforcement official who spoke on the condition of anonymity because they were not authorized to discuss the investigation. Officers were then told Crooks was climbing a ladder, the official said, and officers searched for him but were unable to find him before he made it to the roof, the official added. Butler County Sheriff Michael Sloopy told the Associated Press that the local officer climbed the roof and encountered Crooks, who saw the officer and turned toward him just before the officer dropped down to safety. Sloop said the officer couldn't have wielded his own gun under the circumstances, and the officer retreated down the ladder, and Crooks quickly took a shot towards Trump. And that's when Secret Service snipers shot him, according to two officials who spoke to the Associated Press on condition of anonymity to discuss an ongoing investigation. Well, I just have to stop right there for a second, because that doesn't make a lot of sense with what the previous gentleman stated. There's a whole bunch of holes in this story right now, and we're not talking about just bullet holes. Okay, now this whole thing just reeks of a total cover-up already, in my opinion, from all of these actions, and already the first few stories are already contradicting each other, which means to me that there's a lot of misinformation already that's going to be floating around about this. First off, why is the Associated Press reporting that a law enforcement saw the guy on the roof, and then retreated back down the ladder? I mean, this guy has got to be the laughingstock of law enforcement right now, with him retreating in that manner. I mean, all law enforcement have radios. Why wasn't there some type of radio call made out to a commander chief, anyone, that there is a sniper on the roof? And as we'll show in a future video, there is a sniper on the roof that does have clear access to the gentleman from his position. And so I feel that there was a big drop in the communication somewhere, and I think the American people need to, or deserve to know, where that drop in the communication happened. Because if what the Associated Press is saying is true, then law enforcement had clear eyes on the assailant, and for some reason didn't pull out his gun on him and try to at least neutralize him or wound him in some type of way from being able to make an assassination attempt on the president, or on the former president, Donald J. Trump. Moving on with this article, FBI officials said on Sunday that they were combing Crooks' background and social media activities while working to get access to his phone. The chatting app Discord, a social media platform popular with people playing online games, said Crooks appears to have had an account but used it rarely and not in the last several months. There's no evidence he used his account to promote violence or discuss his political views, a Discord spokesperson said. Crooks's political leanings were not immediately clear. Records show Crooks was registered as a Republican voter in Pennsylvania, but federal campaign finance reports also show he gave $15 to a progressive political action committee on January 20th of 2021, the day Biden was sworn into office. Crooks graduated from Bethel Park High School in 2022. In a video of the school's graduation ceremony posted online, Crooks can be seen crossing the stage to receive his diploma, appearing slight of build and wearing glasses. The school district said it will cooperate fully with investigators, and his senior year, Crooks was among several students given an award for math and science, according to a Tribune Review story at the time. Crooks tried out for the school's rifle team but was turned away because he was a bad shooter, said Frederick Mock, a current current captain of the team, who was a few years behind Crooks at the school. Now, hold on one second right there. How do you kicked out of firing school? I mean, I actually talked to a couple of people about this, and they said that you could get kicked out of a firing school for not carrying your gun around properly and whatnot, and that would be a reason, but that would probably be the only reason that they knew of why someone would get kicked out of school. And if I remember correctly, this article is saying that he was kicked out of school because he was a bad shot. See, there's some conflicting information going on, you guys. Nonetheless, Crooks at the school, Jason Kohler, who said he attended the same high school but did not share any classes with Crooks, said Crooks was bullied at school and sat alone at lunchtime. Other students mocked him for the clothes he wore, which included hunting outfits, Kohler said. In a quote, "He was bullied almost every day," Kohler told reporters. "He was just an outcast, and you know how kids are nowadays." Crooks worked at a nursing home as a dietary aide, a job that generally involves food preparation. Miracle Grimm, the administrator of Bethel Park Skilled Nursing and Rehabilitation, said in a statement she was shocked and saddened to learn of his involvement. Grimm added that Crooks had a clean background check when he was hired. Now, I'm confused right now. This guy worked at a nursing home, and I'm not buying for a second that this guy did this by himself, and I'm willing to bet that there was someone that was visiting him at this nursing home, but that's just my suspicion. I'm sure a lot of people at home have their own as well. But nonetheless, a blockade had been set up on Sunday preventing traffic near Crooks' house, which is in an enclave of modest brick houses in the hills outside of Pittsburgh, and about an hour's drive from the site of the Trump rally. Police cars were stationed at an intersection near the house of the officers were seen walking through the neighborhood. Crooks used an AR-style rifle, which authorities said they believe was purchased by his father, Kevin Rojek. FBI special agent in charge in Pittsburgh said that investigators do not know if he took the gun without his father's permission. Well, do you really think that his father would have given him permission to take the gun to go and try to do an assassination attempt on the former president? I'm not buying that. But nonetheless, a video posted to social media and geolocated by the Associated Press shows Crooks wearing a gray T-shirt with a black American flag on the right arm, lying motionless on the roof of a manufacturing plant just north of the Butler Farm show guards where Trump's rally was held. The roof where Crooks lay was less than 150 meters, basically 164 yards from where Trump was speaking, a distance from which a decent marksman could responsibly hit a human-sized target. That is a distance at which U.S. Army recruits must hit a scaled human-sized silhouette to qualify with the M16 rifle. Images of Crooks's body reviewed by the Associated Press show he appears to have been wearing a T-shirt from Demolition Ranch, a popular YouTube channel that regularly posts videos of its creator firing off handguns and assault rifles at targets that include human mannequins. Matt Carricker, the Texas-based creator of Demolition Ranch, did not respond to a phone message or email on Sunday, but posted a photo of Crooks' buddy corpse wearing his brand's T-shirt on social media with the comment, "What the hell?" This gentleman, Mr. Crooks, I just really don't understand why all the times when we have these types of shooters, they all fit like this very, very similar, distinct profile. And so this is super, super unfortunate. But this gentleman, even fitting this profile, just happened to appear in a BlackRock commercial, you guys. I'm smelling something super, super fishy, you guys. Super, super fishy. So we are going to play this, and we're going to react a little bit and see.
Well-being to me is knowing that I can be free to do the things that I love to do. I hope when I retire someday, they say that guy made this place a special place to come to school and gave as much as he could.
There was a shooter right there. There he is right there.
So as you saw that right there, that character that you see is Thomas Matthew Crooks. This was shot
That's right.
1 year ago, right? And when I tell you about how they put people through mind control operations, why is it that all of these shooters, so-called shooters, all look the same? Do you ever notice the look on the face of these people? I mean, you tell me you don't see something off when you see Thomas Crooks? How about the name, by the way, with Crooks? Thomas Crooks, all the stuff with Trump being a crook is a common theme that we hear. I mean,
I think he's stretching on that one.
In front of our faces because they produce and manufacture this. So
I think he's stretching on that one as far as his last name, but nonetheless, I think that's a pretty big stretch. I think that's just happens to be. But I do find it extremely interesting that this kid was in a BlackRock commercial. Now, we all know what has been happening with kids in Hollywood and different things like that. And the fact that BlackRock has this guy in a commercial, I feel like is super, super suspect already right there. This is just, I don't have all the answers, you guys. I just have just a few different pieces of the puzzle. And these things, when things look weird to me, I just want to point them out. To me, I smell something weird going on. Definitely smell something weird going on. But we're going to go into this multicam video. Now, this is a collection, and we do want to thank the creators of this video because they comprised a whole bunch of videos. Milk Bar TV on Twitter put this video out, and it's 4 minutes and 29 seconds, you guys, and they did a fantastic job. They comprised a whole bunch of videos from social media and comprised them all in one with a timestamp, so you can basically see what's happening from multiple angles, from multiple people's vantage points, all at the same time in real time. And I think this really tells a very, very telling story. So we are going to play this and watch this, you guys.
He was doing his job. I wouldn't even be doing this. I'd be at some beautiful place with the gorgeous ocean.
Look, they're all pointing.
The Atlantic, maybe the Pacific.
Yeah, someone's on top of the roof. Look.
Mm-hmm. There he is.
Right there. Right there. See him? He's laying down. See him?
Yeah, he's laying down.
And still I'm here with you fighting like hell to get a senator.
What's happening?
And to make sure we take back the White House, because if we do, we're going to make America better than ever before. We're going to make it.
Yeah, look.
And it's
There he
not
is.
easy, because we have millions and millions of people in our country that shouldn't be.
You see, they call for the officer right there. Okay, it sounds like they're talking to an officer and trying to get his attention. Why can't this officer radio to Secret Service, radio to a captain, radio anyone that there is a potential threat on the rooftop?
Dangerous people, criminals. We have criminals. We have drug dealers. We have people that should not be here.
See, he's on the roof.
It happened. We have the strongest border ever. In recorded history, we're the best border. In fact, if they could ever put up a chart, I don't know if they can do it. Do you guys have access to that chart that I love so much?
Thank God for this chart. And you'll see why in a second.
You don't mind if I go off teleprompter, do you? Because these teleprompters are so damn boring, I try and explain that. Oh, there's it. Wow. You guys are doing it. They're getting better with time. My guys, take a look at that chart. Take a look at the arrow on the bottom. See the big red arrow, right? So that's when I left office. That was the lowest point, and that comes right from the government services, comes right out of Border Patrol. Take a look at that. So that arrow is the lowest amount of illegal immigration ever in recorded history into our country. And then the worst president in the history of our country took over. And look what happened to our country. Probably 20 million people.
See all the vantage points.
That chart's a couple of months old, and if you want to really see something that says...
There's the first shots.
I hope he's turning this way. Be careful, guys.
We got breaking news. Coming in. Shots fired. Seems to be shots fired at the Trump rally. not know that President Trump has been shot. He's up. He's up. Shots are still continuing to be fired. He's giving a thumbs up, everybody. He's giving a thumbs up.
Now I'm confused because those shots were definitely timed out a lot different, very far apart. And from this perception of the video, is we heard all of the initial shots, and then when Trump is standing, they're saying that there was more shots fired out, and I heard them in the video, but I didn't see them hit anyone. And if you're going to tell me that that was when the Secret Service finally found the shooter, and that was the shots that eliminated the shooter, I'm not too sure if I'm buying that, because there was far too much time that went by when the shooter would have been still alive. So I know how you guys get. They left his head open right there.
Breaking news right now. This is Vanessa Broussard reporting to Butler, Pennsylvania.
And then here's the Secret Service. They can't find her holster in a minute. See, boom, she can't find the holster.
Trump arrived. He hit the ground. Unheard of yet if he has been hit by gunfire.
There she goes. Now she got it.
Secret Service quickly erupted.
We can see the guy there.
Snipers on the building behind the...
I think they hit him because the guy he looks dead.
He's definitely dead. Now, I do find it interesting that they killed him and not seriously neutralized him too, just because, I mean, I'd want to ask a lot of questions of this guy. I would love to be able to ask this guy some questions, but this guy is totally dead, and we couldn't ask him a question if we wanted to, which is extremely unfortunate. But I do understand that's how the game goes. But you know, the fact that they weren't able to take him alive gives me a couple other questions as we will continue along on this journey. But throw a comment down below. Let me know what you guys think. I'm not here to tell you how to think or whatnot, or, you know, I think ultimately at the end of the day, this is a major tragedy, regardless of what side of the political aisle that you're on. And I am appalled by some of the people that are like, oh man, he meant, too bad he missed. And like, that is not the right type of attitude to have. We are all Americans, and regardless of how you feel about one side or the other, you should not be wishing death upon either side. America just needs to calm down a little bit. The TikTok video was included in that. In that video, that was the first video that was in where we were just playing, where it was showing the people that were viewing the festivities from outside of the event where the shooter was, when they were first notifying law enforcement. And I'm not sure if this timeline adds up with the timeline in the video, and then we're going to go back in to the previous video to see if we notice anything different. We're going to play that one more time. See, so this is the original TikTok video here to the left, where you have the gentleman in the red hat identifying the shooter on the roof.
He's laying down. See him?
Yeah, he's laying down.
Where it says plenty of time and opportunity to eliminate the threat. WTF.
What's happening?
And to make sure we take back the White House, because if we do, we're going to make America better than ever before. We're going to make it.
Yeah, look.
And it's
There
not
he is.
easy, because we have millions and millions of people in our country.
Officer
that need to be here.
told
Dangerous
at
people.
37 seconds.
We have criminals. We have
Lady yelling at 43 seconds. He's on the roof.
on the roof.
It's much tougher than if it happened.
You went on the roof, big guy.
Ever. In recorded history, we're the best border. In fact, if they could ever put up a chart, I don't know if they can do it. Do you guys have access to that chart that I love so much? You don't mind if I go off teleprompter, do you? Because these teleprompters are so damn boring, I try and explain that. Oh, there's it. Wow. You guys are doing it. They're getting better with time. My guys, take a look at that chart. Take a look at the arrow on the bottom. See the big red arrow, right? So that's when I left office. That was the lowest point, and that comes right from the government services, comes right out of Border Patrol. Take a look at that. So that arrow is the lowest amount of illegal immigration ever in recorded history into our country. And then the worst president in the history of our country took over. And look what happened to our country. Probably 20 million people. And you know, that's a little bit old, that chart. That chart's a couple of months old. And if you want to really see something,
Get ready. 201. First shot hits.
I hope he's turning this way. Be careful, guys.
We got breaking news. We got breaking news coming in. Shots fired. Seems to be shots fired at the Trump rally. Is he okay? We need to go live right now. We are live right now at the Trump rally. We don't know if President Trump has been shot. We know he hit the ground. We do not know if President Trump has been shot. He's up. He's up. Shots are still continuing to be fired. He's giving a thumbs up, everybody. He's giving a thumbs up.
That's probably one of the most iconic moments in history right there we witnessed live. President Trump standing up and yelling, "Fight." As he's escorted down, Secret Service surrounded him.
Breaking news right now. This is Vanessa Broussard reporting to you live from Butler, Pennsylvania. We hear shots fired at the rally not 10 to 15 minutes after President Trump arrived. He hit the ground. Unheard of yet if he has been hit by gunfire. Secret Service quickly erupted.
We can see the guy there.
The snipers on the building behind the.
I think they hit him because the guy he looks dead.
Now again, I'm a little bit confused as by the time from the two times that we hear gunshots twice throughout that video. I'm not sure if the milk bar made a mistake or if there's a possibility that there was actually two shooters and not just one. I'm not sure. I'm not trying to start any rumors or spread any conspiracy theories or anything else like that. I'm just stating that I'm confused by that. But then we do have a picture of the bullet that is whizzing by President Trump's ear. And I also do believe that we have an additional photo as well, where I do believe, now I haven't read any reports that has stated this or seen any footage other than this photo, but in this other photo right here, it does appear that President Trump also, a bullet went through his suit or whatnot, and I do believe that President Trump had a bulletproof vest on, so then there was no bullet wound in that torso area. But if you look at that picture, it does appear that there is a bullet hole going through that suit. I'll let you guys all be the judge. And I know that in the coming days, we are all going to have more questions, and there's going to be more and more stuff to come out, and there's going to be more lies that are told to us and more truths that will come to us as well. And want to make sure that everyone remains vigilant, stays positive, remembers that at the end of the day, we all are Americans. And remember, whatever you do, make sure that you do register to vote and you make sure your voice is heard this November, no matter what side of the aisle you are. And we want to make sure that every American's voice is heard in this election. And I do wish the president, former President Donald J. Trump, his family, and everyone affected by this incident, our love and thoughts and prayers throughout this, as well as our condolences for the families of the fallen, as well as to the victims who were injured at this tragic occurrence. It's a sad day. This definitely could have been prevented. Secret Service, I think you have a lot of answers to answer for in regards to this, as well as the local law enforcement, based off of the things that we just talked about today. And so I think the American public deserves a whole fistful of answers from not just the Secret Service, but also from this local law enforcement division. And let's break down, and why did this communication break down? I know there was another article that read that because it's in my opinion that the Secret Service snipers had clear vantage point in regards with being able to take out this sniper, but it is possible too that they had a no fire first policy in place, which I don't understand why they would allow that to happen. I also know that the president's Secret Service detail was a smaller detail than what would normally have if he was the sitting president, due to the fact that he is not the sitting president, and I think that could have caused for some lack of considerations maybe or whatnot. Then there's a whole bunch of other situations as well that we could go into, but because we don't want to violate the terms of service, we just want to have a communication to you guys out there in regards to this. We're not going to go into those other issues, but I'm sure you can imagine what they are. In an additional article called Malice or Massive Incompetence by Eric Prince, gives detailed assessment of Secret Service's failure. Former Navy SEAL and Blackwater founder Eric Prince gave a detailed assessment of yesterday's Secret Service debacle in the wake of a failed assassination attempt on former President Donald Trump. In a quote, "Hopefully after the tragedy yesterday in Butler, Pennsylvania, we can all recognize that unaccountable, bloated bureaucracies continue to fail us as Americans," Prince posted on X. Donald J. Trump is alive today solely due to a bad wind estimate by an evil would-be assassin. As the graphics show, the full value wind of just 5 miles per hour was enough to displace the unconfirmed but likely light 55-grain bullet 2 inches from Donald J. Trump's intended forehead to his ear. Donald J. Trump was not saved by the United States Secret Service's brilliance. The fact that the United States Secret Service allowed a rifle-armed shooter within 150 yards to a pre-planned event is either malice or massive incompetence. Clearly, there was adequate, uncontrolled dead space from a shooter to move into position and take multiple aimed shots. Watching the newsreel, one can hear how proximate the shooter is by the very short time lapse between the crack of arriving bullet, supersonic, to the boom of the muzzle blast, which it would be considered a sonic sound. The law enforcement sniper, unclear if it's United States Secret Service, in newsreels was clearly overwhelmed as his face came off of his rifle instead of doing his job to kill the shooter. Clearly, they were watching the shooter, but apparently have a no, in quotes, first shot policy. The only positive action was an apparent 488-yard shot by one U.S. Secret Service sniper, which dispatched the assassin, but after the assassin had launched at least 5 rounds, wounding former President Donald J. Trump and killing and severely wounding others in the crowd. In Eric's old business of providing diplomatic security, In 2 active war zones, we were expected to execute the basics or we would be fired. Clearly, the United States Secret Service failed at the basics of a secure perimeter, and once shots were fired, their extraction was clumsy and left Donald J. Trump highly exposed to follow-on attacks. It looked like they had never drilled together because those responses should have been effectively atomic. Will there be accountability? Well, that's not the Washington way, he says. And we're going to look at this Twitter video and see what, in regards to that captures the full statement of this. And that sniper could have clearly tagged that shooter from that distance. And look, he looks up, gets away from the shot, and shots fired. And so that's exactly what Eric is referring to. And unserious and untrustworthy people in positions of authority got us to this near disaster. Merit and execution must be the only deciding factors in hiring and leadership, not the social engineering priority of the day. Sadly, nothing in Washington reflects that any longer. Donald J. Trump is right to question the competence of those protecting him because yesterday they failed in almost every way. Nature abhors a vacuum, and there are always other options. Most importantly, as Americans, let's come together and run a proper, valid election so we can get back to what matters, a merit-based society that judges on character and skill, nothing else. Indeed, when looking at the circumstances in favor of Thomas Matthew Crooks, the identified alleged suspect in the attempted assassination of Donald J. Trump in Butler, Pennsylvania, it's hard to see how the guy failed. Almost every Secret Service security protocol seems to have been ignored, allowing Crooks easy access to a perfect shooting position and plenty of time to acquire a bead on Trump's podium. The rooftop used by Crooks was a mere 140 yards away from the event with a clear line of sight to the right of Trump. Those familiar with precision shooting know that any shot within 300 yards is considered easy for a moderately trained rifleman. With the right caliber, an expert can hit a torso-sized target consistently at 1,000 yards or more. At 140 yards, any amateur should be able to hit a pie plate-sized target with little difficulty, even without a magnified optic. The Secret Service is supposed to secure all obvious sniper perches well before the arrival of a protectee, and meanwhile, nearby rooftops and buildings are supposed to have a security presence in place along with drone surveillance. In the case of Butler, Pennsylvania, this was apparently not done. Secret Service snipers were not only present on the building right behind the venue stage, and the lack of a security presence at the building across the field made it possible for the would-be assassin to brazenly jaunt to the location and climb to the rooftop with his rifle in broad daylight. The Secret Service traditionally uses centric, in quotes, circles of security, going out hundreds, if not thousands of yards when preparing a location for protection. Watch the video below for insight on how meticulous the Secret Service is supposed to be when preparing an area to prevent assassination attempts. The idea of Crooks being able to get that close with an elevated position on the stage is unthinkable. Another fail was the lack of sight obstructions put in place near the stage. The Secret Service is supposed to erect barriers to block the line of sight from potential shooting locations, and again, this was not done. So now we're going to go into this video that he is referring to.
The United States Secret Service, the protocols are born out of blood. It may seem dramatic, but it's actually a necessary process to understand past incidents, failures, and successes to ensure that threats are fully mitigated for future protectees. My name is Jonathan Wackrow. I spent 14 years in the U.S. Secret Service as a special agent. I joined the United States Secret Service just prior to 9/11. I was assigned to the New York field office as a criminal investigator. In 2008, went to Washington, D.C., where I was assigned to the Secretary of Homeland Security's detail. Then, just after the election of President Obama, I went to the President's detail, which allowed me the opportunity to plan and coordinate trips both domestically and abroad for the President and First Lady. So the approach that the Secret Service takes is a very proactive, advanced process. We think about three main areas. We think about what are we going to do in a tactical or crisis situation, what are we going to do in a medical situation, and what are we going to do if we have to relocate this protectee. And those are the big three. There are subcategories to all of them, but every agent and officer is constantly thinking about what am I going to do? What is my personal protection plan, and what is my plan for my protectee? We're never complacent, because the moment that we become complacent, complacency kills and something happens. When the President goes to any location, the methodology is to set up concentric rings of protection around where he's going to be. That starts with the inside of a building, the dais, if he's giving a speech. How do we build out a security program from there? First, we look at where the President's going to stand. We try to mitigate any line of sight issues that may occur. We want to make sure that that environment is secure. I want to be able to fortify my perimeter. I want access control. I want to fully understand how I mitigate everybody that's coming into that environment. That's the metal detectors, that's the explosive detection, that is the utilization of different technology to ensure that we're always putting the President in the most safe location, regardless of where it is. When a Secret Service advance agent goes into a location that the President or any of our other protectees are going to go into, they're looking at that space much differently than the average citizen. Everything from the HVAC, the air conditioning units, how does that affect my environment? Can someone introduce an aerosol spray from a clean air intake from the outside and affect myself or the protectee? I'm looking at the lighting. Who controls it? Can that room get dark real fast and then attack get launched? How many entrances are there? Is there a set of stairs that can lead up from a basement? Is there an access way into the kitchen area? I want to understand all of the access points into that location. Once that room fills up with people, I want to understand what are the crowd dynamics going to be in that space. In the event that something happens, it could be something administrative like a medical emergency, how is that crowd going to react? What are they going to do? And what that crowd is going to do is going to be the opposite to what I'm going to do with my protectee, because I want to be able to quickly and effectively remove myself from that situation. Once that environment is established, how do we maintain it for the entire duration that the President's there? I'm looking at the perimeter of that location. That perimeter can be our local law enforcement presence that's now allowing us to keep the general public away from this protective site. That moves out even further. We start looking at long-range issues that I need to address. I need aerial surveillance. I need the ability to understand what that airspace looks like above me. I need to understand if I'm near a terrain feature such as water, how do I mitigate the vulnerability that's coming from that waterway? So do I need police boats out there? That starts to become that outer ring. So protective methodology in these concentric rings, you want to address those types of threats as far out as possible. That's really the tradecraft, and it comes down to experience. It comes down to constant training and communication and awareness of your environment. As we have seen, the protective model evolves over time. The Secret Service is always trying to evolve and get better. They're reassessing every action that they take on every single trip to ensure a more holistic and secure environment for the protectees. One thing that hasn't changed is that our protectees always remain a target. But how has the threat changed? What are the different tactics that have used? They've become more dynamic. Because our mandate is protection, we have to put ourselves between the threat and the protectee. And that means that we have to stand up tall when there's gunfire. We have to go address the threat head on. We have to become the barrier between that threat, whether it's a sharp-edged weapon, a gun, doesn't matter. We have to stand in between that threat and the protectee. We understand that it's just not normal to want to put yourself in between a gun and a protectee, but there's a greater calling here. We have to think about what we're protecting and what that mission is.
That was a very, very, very informative video right there. Very informative. Hope you learned a lot about the rings. And finally, there's the dismissal lack of response time. Witnesses outside the event report that they saw Thomas Crooks climbing to the building rooftop with his rifle at least 3 minutes before he started shooting, which we showed you in the previous videos that we've showed you in this video. They claim they tried to warn police and Secret Service agents to no avail. In a quote, "How could you have someone on the rooftop," said House Majority Leader Steve Scalise, a victim of political violence after the shooting. "There are reports that people watched him climb up the roof and even alerted authorities, and we're going to be looking into that," he says. Meanwhile, House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer on Saturday night demanded immediate answers from the Secret Service as to how it failed to prevent the assassination attempt. In a quote, "I have already contacted the Secret Service for a briefing and am also calling on the Secret Service Director Kimberly Cheadle to appear before a hearing," Comer said on X. In a quote, "The Oversight Committee will send a formal invitation soon. There are many questions and Americans demand answers." As Just the News notes, warning signs about the Secret Service were there months before the Trump assassination attempt. Luckily for Trump, Crooks seems to have had terrible aim, and he was not smart enough to shoot from a covered position, which would have offered him protection and allowed him even more time. Unfortunately, the shooter's stray bullets hit at least 3 bystanders in the crowd, leaving 1 dead and 2 in critical condition. The security failure in this situation is so complete that former Secret Service agents are admitting it publicly and calling for an investigation into how this could have happened. The motive for Thomas Crooks' actions is not currently known, yet reports claim the 20-year-old Bethel Park resident was registered to vote as a Republican, yet he also donated money to Democrat-run organizations back in 2021, including Act Blue and the Progressive Turnout Project. As we warned only 2 weeks ago, Democrat rhetoric has been increasingly violent after the Supreme Court decisions on Trump's prosecution immunity, and many Democrat representatives and activists openly suggested Trump could or should be assassinated in response to the ruling. The media's fear-mongering over the imminent destruction of democracy should Trump prevail might not be directly related to the shooting attempt, but it certainly doesn't help. In the wake of the failed assassination, many have still taken to social media to argue that the shooting was staged, while others complained that the shooter missed his target. Now, I just want to touch on that for 1 second. Anyone that thinks that Trump set this up or staged this, I just can't buy, mainly because of the fact that we have a man who lost his life and we have 2 other people that were shot and wounded during this so-called stunt. So I'm not buying that for a second. Not at all. But regardless of one's position on Trump, this kind of political vitriol should be considered poisonous. It can only lead to more violence in the future. And again, the shooter was given every opportunity. Democrats almost got what they have long wanted. And so, it's very, very sad that Americans feel this disenfranchised and that the mainstream media has gaslighted people to feel this type of way over about President Trump. I mean, during the 80s and 90s, he was one of the most beloved figures in American folklore. You know what I mean? Like, everybody wanted to be around him. He was in everyone's videos, whatnot, everything from Home Alone to pretty much anything you could find this man in. And so the fact that all of this, the whole perception on him has shifted so much, I think is really, really just trips me out. But nonetheless, however you feel about the president, just please try to remember that we all are Americans. We all want the best for America. And at the end of the day, make sure that your voice is heard in November. Make sure that you register to vote, as well as do your duty to vote. People did die for this ability to be able to have our voices heard in a free and fair election. And I think we all want that same thing, regardless of what side of the political spectrum you're on. And so with that, I encourage you to watch this, make out your own decisions, make up your own minds onto this. But I definitely smell something fishy in regards with all of this stuff that we have just presented to today. And hopefully we will ultimately get the answers that the American public not only deserves, but also demands. But nonetheless, I am your host, Jason Beck. Please leave a comment down below with what you think. Again, we want to dedicate this episode to the life of the fallen firefighter. We know your family definitely misses you, as well as also to the other 2 victims of this tragic shooting. And again, we want to end on the iconic picture of the president when he gets hoisted up by Secret Service and speaks back to the crowd and throws up a fist and tells them to continue fighting, which I thought was extremely touching moment, and something that I think that will be ingrained in Americans' heads for the rest of their lives. But nonetheless, make sure that you hit that like button, leave a comment down below, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't subscribed already. Hope you all are having an amazing day. This is Jason Beck for High at 9 News. I hope you guys have appreciated what we have put together for you to make up your own mind in regards with what happened.